6 weeks, more than 6 weeks, day 48 of the Israel-Hamas war, and now finally there is a glimmer of hope of a breakthrough. There is a truce plan that has now finally been spelled out. Remember, the truce should have come into effect from today, but that has not happened. It's gotten delayed. But this evening, we saw officials in Qatar who've been mediating this much-awaited humanitarian pause, and they have said that this pause in the campaign of relentless bombing by the Israelis will begin at 7 a.m. local time in the Gaza Strip. In exchange, Hamas will be releasing about 13 Israeli hostages who are in its custody. If everything goes as planned, this is what is expected to happen. There could be a temporary pause. It's not a ceasefire as people understand it. This is more in the nature of a humanitarian pause. It will last for a period of about 4 days from 7 a.m. in the morning. And it's not the entire of the Gaza Strip that will get this humanitarian pause. The northern part of the Gaza Strip will get a humanitarian pause only for about 6 hours every day. These are the details. Now, the fighting that's been raging on for the last 47 days, in which 14,000 people, innocent Palestinian civilians and children who've been massacred, this could, of course, see a bit of a halt starting from 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Now, the announcement has been made by the Qatari representatives. It is said that the fighting will cease for a period of 4 days. And according to the announcement, the very first group of 13 hostages held by Hamas in Gaza will be allowed to walk free by 4 p.m. local time in Gaza. The spokesperson for the Qatari Foreign Ministry, in fact, gave the details of the deal under which some hostages will be released in exchange for this 4-day brief humanitarian pause.
The beginning of the pause will be 7 a.m. Friday, the 24th of November, and it will last, of course, as agreed, for 4 days. And the first batch of civilians to be released from Gaza will be around 4 p.m. of the same day.
Qatar has said that the list of the civilians to be released from the Gaza Strip has been received. The list was set to be the last-minute detail, due to which the truce, which was otherwise supposed to come into effect from today, has been delayed for 1 day. Now, Qatar has said that the criteria on who is to be released is purely based upon humanitarian grounds, and the priority is to get women and children out of harm's way as soon as possible.
I also hear now that there is a news from Qatar that there will be release of family hostages that are belong to the same family. Again, this is part of the psychological terror, because this, this general notion is very disturbing, not clear for everyone. What do they mean? Because they say 13, so the 13, we don't know one family of 13, they are a family of 7. A sign of life is to allow the Red Cross to visit them, and it's a disgrace that this does not happen, and this must happen. And if I think that you ask if any of them were able to contact their families, as far as we know, no.
Now, there are also reports of Mossad's director, David Barnier, being present in Doha to discuss the final details and also to tie up the loose ends of the deal. Now, David Barnier was the lead negotiator for the Israelis, but Israel is yet to officially confirm the details of this truce agreement, and that is going to be very crucial. And also, to give us more insights into what this humanitarian truce of sorts could, of course, mean for the people in the Gaza Strip, we're being joined by Mr. Mohammed Najib, who is a journalist and also a war correspondent and a security analyst, is joining us live from Ramallah in the West Bank. Now, Mr. Najib, these are the details that have been spelled out by the Qatari representatives. They've been at the forefront of negotiations for this kind of a humanitarian pause deal. It is not correct to describe this as a ceasefire, because it is not. This is a brief sort of a pause in the campaign of bombings by the Israelis and their ground offensive for a period of 4 days in exchange for about 50 hostages that are expected to be released. What is your reading on the ground there? Why do you think the Israelis have agreed to this? Did Netanyahu agree to this deal under pressure?
Yes, good question. As Netanyahu hoped since the beginning of this war that he can reach the Israeli hostages through his intelligence services and armed forces, that invaded Gaza through the ground incursion and released them. But after those 48 days, when the IDF failed to locate those Israeli hostages and to free them, and due to the internal and the growing Israeli pressures in Israel against the Netanyahu government, and they said that we want the target of this war is not to destroy Hamas, but to bring back our sons and our relatives. Then under that pressure from one side and the intelligence and IDF failure to locate them and free them by force from Hamas, he agreed to go on this pause and to bring back 50 Israeli hostages. Most of them are women and children. Right. And maybe this truce could be extended for another days if Hamas is ready and the negotiators manage to convince Hamas to free more Israeli prisoners and more Palestinian prisoners will be freed from Israeli jails.
Absolutely indeed. And not even everyone within Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet agree on the details of this deal. Itamar Ben-Gvir, the internal security minister in Israel, has described this hostage deal as a disaster for the state of Israel. But Ms. Najib, the question that I want to ask you is this. About 150 Palestinian prisoners will also be allowed to walk free. There are thousands of Palestinians who at this moment who are incarcerated in Israeli prisons. And we expect a lot of the children and a lot of the women who at this moment are in Israeli prisons on various charges, they'll be allowed to walk free. Give us a sense of what is the perception of the Palestinians with respect to the Palestinian prisoners who will also be released as a part of this deal.
You are right. Yesterday I spoke to Kadura Faris, the Minister of Palestinian Prisoners here in Ramallah, and he told me that before 7 October, there were 5,800 Palestinians. But since 7 October right now, Israel has arrested more than 3,000 Palestinians from the West Bank. So the number is exceeded 8,000 Palestinian prisoners inside Israeli jails, including children, women, elderly, and sick people. And the 150 is nothing compared to the huge number of arrested by the Israelis. But this is a sign of hope for the Palestinian prisoners to be freed in the coming time, weeks or months, through the prisoners exchange between Hamas and Israel, because Hamas will maintain some 190 or 200 of the Israeli hostages, including soldiers, so they will ask for the free of other Palestinian prisoners. And maybe it's worth to mention that Israel didn't free Palestinian prisoners except in two things, either through peace process, and this is stuck since more than 15 years, or through military kidnapping by Hamas and then prisoner swap, as they did with Gilad Shalit. And that's what pushed the Palestinians or give the prisoners hope that they could be freed by Hamas. Prisoner exchange in the coming weeks and months.
All right. Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Najib, for joining us and getting us those insights there.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.